Hey there, creepy peeps. Welcome to my channel if you're new here, and welcome back if you're returning. Today we're going to be talking about horror movie remakes, specifically Asian horror movie remakes. The US film industry loves to remake popular Asian horror movies, and one of my patrons, Miko from Muddy Cult Madhouse, whose channel I'll link in the description, suggested that I make a video talking about my favorite and least favorite remakes of Asian horror movies. Speaking of patrons, I want to thank all of my creepy patron peeps for supporting my channel. Thank you guys so much from the bottom of my heart. If you want to find out the perks to being a creepy patron peep yourself, you can follow that link in the description. I keep saying this, but it is a really good time to join or start thinking about joining, because October we do a lot of fun extra stuff just to make our favorite month of the year even more special. So I haven't seen enough Asian horror movie remakes to make a whole list separating them between favorites and least favorites. There's only a few that where I've seen both the original and the remake. So for example, One Missed Call, I've only seen the American remake, and something like Dark Water, I've only seen the original. I haven't seen the remake. So I'm gonna exclude those because I feel like I can't fairly judge how a movie is as a remake if I haven't seen the original, and vice versa. So I guess if I had to pick a least favorite out of the ones I've seen compared to the original, I would probably have to say The Uninvited. It's based on the South Korean horror movie A Tale of Two Sisters, which I feel like most of you probably recognize, possibly a little bit more. I don't know. I feel like The Uninvited kind of just it came and went. It's like an enigma. I haven't seen The Uninvited, I think, since the first time I saw it, which was in movie theaters, which was this movie came out in 2009, so it was 10 years ago. And I feel like it was just extraordinarily unremarkable, probably because it came kind of on the tail end of the huge wave of Asian horror movie remakes that we got in the aughts. I feel like a lot of them came in the early to mid aughts. But this one is just a jump scare filled American remake of a otherwise great Asian horror movie. I highly recommend A Tale of Two Sisters. It's more of a creepy slow burn and just so much better than the remake. Next, if I am ranking this, I don't know if this is an official ranking, to be honest, but I would probably have to go with Shudder. Again, the remake is just a typical American remake that takes all of the subtle scares of the original and makes it all about the jump scares. Although jump scares were rampant in all of the horror movies, almost all of the horror movies that came out in this decade, I feel like. Although, if I'm honest, I didn't like the original that much more than the remake. I believe I reviewed the original for 31 Days of Horrorween last year. I know I did. I know I made a video on it, so I'll link it up here if you want to check out my full thoughts on it. But I feel like there were some aspects to the plot that just didn't make a lot of sense. And I had seen the remake first, which is actually the case for every single movie on this list. So I already knew the twist within the movie, which always affects your viewing of something, I feel like, if you know what's gonna happen. I would probably go ahead and just put Pulse in the middle of this list, only because I rated the original and the remake the same. I think I gave them both a 3.5 out of 5. But I liked and disliked completely different things about each movie. The remake of Pulse is one that I just watched a whole hell of a lot when I was younger. I watched it so many times. So there's a little bit of a nostalgia factor for me there. And in all honesty, the remake does exactly the same thing that all of these remakes I'm talking about did. I know I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but they take the subtle, kind of slower burn scares of the originals and turn them into kind of a jump scare fest with lots of CGI monsters and such. But like I already mentioned, this was commonplace for for these. So The Ring. This one makes me low-key a little mad. I feel like I should have liked the original a whole lot more than I did. Not to be a broken record, but I'm completely a broken record in this video. Do you sense the theme between the originals and the remakes of these? The original was way more slow burn, it was subtle, and it just like hits you right at the end, which I normally really, really like. Honestly, when I watched the original for the first time, I hadn't seen the remake in such a long time. I honestly, I can't tell you the last time I watched the American remake of The Ring. A lot of people really like the American remake of The Ring, and I mean, maybe somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, that was the most popular one. I know it came kind of early in the American remakes, and I think it was kind of like the catalyst movie where that one was just so popular, and then we started to get a lot more remakes of Asian movies. But because it was such a big deal at the time, it became such a staple in pop culture. Like the Scary Movie franchise ripped on it a lot. And by the time I saw the original, I had the remake so ingrained in me that I found the original low-key kind of boring, which sucks. I wanted to like it so bad. Like, I don't mean to sound like defeatist, like I'll never like Ringu ever. But I'm just talking about like the first time I saw the original. I just found it like so boring. If I had to pick a favorite remake that I've seen so far, it would probably be The Grudge. Although I haven't watched the two back to back in a very long time, but I feel like, just relying on my memory here, I feel like the difference between the two really isn't that large. And the nostalgia factor for me on the remake is through the roof. I know I've told this story before, but I very much remember seeing the remake, the American remake, in the theaters and being absolutely terrified by that bed scene. You guys know the one I'm talking about. And when I got home, that fear only quadrupled and I could not bring myself to sleep under a blanket that night. That is a real story. And if I'm being honest, like having the benefit of hindsight in this situation, I feel like this movie was the catalyst for being the horror fan that I am today. Cause this was the first horror movie that I can remember that actually like came home with me. Like, you know, like you guys remember the high of seeing like a horror movie in the theaters when you were younger. Like, you're really scared in the theater, and then when you come out with your friends, you're like laughing and joking with each other, and it doesn't really it doesn't really keep you up at night necessarily. But I feel like we can all remember like that first horror movie that came home with us that scared us so badly that like we couldn't sleep that night or we had nightmares, and this was that movie for me. I feel like this was like the start of where I started to go from like a casual horror fan to having a YouTube channel for like almost 6 years talking about horror movies. So thanks, Grudge. So that's actually all of the Asian horror remakes I've seen. Again, the only ones where I've seen the remake and the original. So let me know your favorites and least favorites in the comments. On a related note, if you want to know what my all-time favorite Asian horror movies are, I did a video on that like just a few months ago, I think, maybe in like April or May. So I'll link the video up here if you want to know like what my favorites are and some hidden gems. Coincidentally, there is not a single Asian horror movie that has a remake on that list, so there will be no repeats between this video and that video. In terms of this video though, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new here or if you've been lurking, I see you guys. Subscribe, become a creepy peep today. I post 2 new videos a week. Thank you so much for watching this video. I will talk to you very, very soon. Until then, stay strange. Bye.